What a week, guys. What a week it has been. College football literally changing as we know it. Like what we knew college football as is done, over. And this has happened probably every 20, 30 years, something like that. Let me, hold on, guys. Wipe that camera off real quick. Sorry, I probably should have made sure the camera was clear, Live show 101. Make sure the camera's clear, but I forgot to do that. It's been a very busy few days, and college football has completely changed over the past year. What really started was Texas and Oklahoma headed to the Big 12. There was a lot of conference realignments before this, back in 2011. And then even before that, whenever the ACC added Virginia Tech, Miami, Boston College, Syracuse, all those teams. And then the next realignment, Big 12 lost 4 members. Colorado went to the Pac-12, and Nebraska went to the Big Ten, which that still makes no sense to me. And then Texas A&M and Missouri went to the SEC. So that's when it started. But it still felt like, the college football that we knew. Now it's not. It's changing. But just like anything else, we will get used to it, and it will become normal. And then, then we'll be able to think back and be like, you know what? You remember whenever college football was like this, and, the good old days for us. So it's just the change. People don't like change, and I'm right there with you. I don't like this change. I really don't. But you can't prevent it from happening. It's happening. You deal with it. And here's the best thing that we need to do. Well, it's out of our control, but the teams involved, use the change to your advantage. This right now, what we're experiencing right now, determines whether a team is going to thrive, survive, or fizzle out in the next phase. Right now, figuring out how to use these changes to your advantage. It's happening no matter what. You can't change it back. So we got to stop living in the past, embrace what's going on, and then figure out how to use it to our advantage. You have to, and that's when you look at teams that do well and don't do well, it comes down to that. The teams that do well figure out, okay, well, this is happening. How do we use it to our advantage? I mean, look at Alabama. Before Nick Saban got there, yes, they were still historically great, but they were going through a big-time drought. But then Nick Saban came in, and he knew how to use the rules and the system that's in place right now. And look at Alabama. They're basically in the national championship every other year. And it goes with anybody. Look at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley. No, they weren't winning national championships at Oklahoma, but they were getting to the playoffs on a regular basis. Dabo Swinney over there at Clemson, he figured out how to use the ACC's weakness against them and basically run the ACC, make a ton of money, get to the playoffs, win a couple of national championships. So it's all about having the right coach, having the right leaders, taking advantage of the current situation. And I feel bad for Pac-12 fans because y'all do not have the coaches and the leadership in place to take advantage of anything right now. Right now, you're getting picked apart. Congratulations to USC and UCLA. That was a good decision. I'm not here to, trash everybody and make everybody feel bad or anything like that. But that was the right decision for USC and UCLA. Good job, guys. You made the right decision. You took advantage of the situation. And you're going to make a lot of money in the Big Ten. You're going to be relevant again because let's face it, even before this happened, even before UCLA and USC decided that they were going to move on to the Big Ten, the Pac-12, they haven't been relevant for a while. We were all talking about it. Before they started getting picked apart, they weren't relevant. And you could see, it's almost like everybody could tell what was going to happen. It just hadn't happened yet because the Pac-12 was irrelevant. They weren't making playoff appearances. The the blue blood brands weren't doing very well. USC was not doing anything. That they were headed in the wrong direction. That was a great hire, Lincoln Riley. I don't like the way he left Oklahoma and the way he trash talked them, but for USC, it was a good hire. I'm not going to hold his arrogance and his attitude against him. We all have different quirks about us, different, aspects of our, the way we do things that maybe rub other people the wrong way. But he's good at what he does. That's a good hire for USC. And then this is a good move for USC. Think about USC a year ago. Now, did they have high expectations? Yes. They went in preseason ranked top 25. I think top 20. Before they lost to Stanford, I think they were actually number 14. So they had big time expectations last year at USC, and then the wheels came off. So the difference between last year and this year with USC is massive. The coaching, where they're going to be playing football as far as conference goes, it's crazy. And the one thing that I don't understand about the Big Ten, this is from what I'm hearing, guys, is they are solely focused on Notre Dame. After the news broke that USC and UCLA was headed to the Big Ten, I started to hear rumors and actually confirmation. Washington and Oregon did in fact apply to the Big Ten. They just turned them down. And the reason for that was the Big Ten is focused on getting Notre Dame. They still are, but from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, Notre Dame is not accepting right now. Does that mean they're going to say no forever? Absolutely not. They could change their mind tomorrow. They could change their mind next week, a month later, whatever. But for right now, they're not accepting. Thank you, Shane M1980. Great supporter of Golden Blued. $10 super chat. Let me put that on the screen. I got to remember to start doing that. There we go. Hope all is well, GBD. It was a nice week for LSU recruiting. Yeah, LSU is doing really well with Brian Kelly. I'm not really surprised, but a lot of people are, and I'm like, why? The recruiting disadvantages that you have at Notre Dame for now. In the future, I think they'll have some great advantages with the NIL and stuff. But for now, he actually did really well for what he had at Notre Dame, and for the resources and the way acceptance is to Notre Dame, and the acceptance rate at Notre Dame is low, so it's hard to recruit over there. I think he did a good job. So whenever he moved over to LSU, I expected LSU's recruiting to go through the roof. I mean, let's think about this. If Ed Orgeron can win a national championship at LSU, so can Brian Kelly. I mean, it's going to happen. I don't think it happens this year, of course. Maybe not even next year, but in a couple years, LSU will be a contender. So, glad to hear that, Shane. And I really didn't – I had no doubts that he was going to get it back on track. So, it's on the up and up in LSU. Good job with that. West Virginia, we have pretty good high hopes this year as well. But to wrap up what I was saying, Big Ten pursuing Notre Dame. For now, Notre Dame is saying thank you, but no thanks. Could that change in the future? Perhaps. The Big Ten, I mean, they would bring in anybody that Notre Dame wants to be brought in to bring in Notre Dame. Hey, would Stanford work? Okay, if that works, we're bringing Stanford. Come on, Notre Dame. Navy. Hey, if we bring in Navy, would that work? Hey, what if we bring in Stanford and Navy? We'll add an extra team, Oregon, whatever we need to do, just to bring in Notre Dame. Because what I've seen from what everybody's saying is the only team that adds value to the Big Ten TV contract right now is Notre Dame. Not even that surprised me. Not even Oregon adds value to the Big Ten TV deal. And that's not saying that Oregon isn't valuable. I just think they're talking about the market overall and the appeal to Big Ten fans and the appeal to the TV deal itself, because you're still dealing with human beings. It's not like you're punching in numbers. Let's see how that works. No, they don't work. Try the next team. Let's see how that one. Yep, put them in. That's not how it works. You're still dealing with human beings, so it has to appeal to the human beings that you're dealing with. And apparently, for whatever reason, Oregon did not move the needle very much, which surprised me a lot. So what they were saying was, if the Big Ten goes with Washington and Oregon, that just turns into having to split it up even more because those two brands didn't increase the value of the TV deal. How? How does not adding Oregon or Washington not add to any TV deal? Oregon is a high class brand right now. Washington, yeah, they had a bad year last year, but over the past 30 years, Washington's been pretty successful. Their brand is pretty stinking good. They have one of the best brands in the Pac-12, or what was formerly known as the Pac-12. If I had to rank the brands in the Pac-12, of course, number 1 would be USC, number 2 would be Oregon, and number 3 would be close between Washington and UCLA. But I would still put Washington at number 3 just because of the success that they've had in the Pac-12 over the past 30 years. And Washington gets overlooked a lot, and I feel bad for Washington fans. I think that they have a strong brand. They had a bad year last year. Chris Peterson, their head coach, leaving them did hurt them, but Washington will be back. So I just don't understand them saying that, especially the combination of Oregon and Washington. I don't know. In my opinion, of course, my opinion doesn't matter all that much. But in my opinion, I think those are two really strong brands, and I think they would move the needle. By the way, if you're a college football fan and you've never come across Golden Blue Dude and this was suggested, hey, consider hitting the subscribe button because college football is all we do over here. So college football fan, college football YouTube channel, it just makes sense. Hey, that might be my new motto. How about that? You know, just like the SEC, it just means more. For Golden Blue Dude, it just makes sense. I like it. I might brand that, by the way. So, yeah, if you're a college football fan, try it. Hey, if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe later. And those of you that have been here since the start of the show and you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button, not for a pat on the back for good old Golden Blue Dude. No, it helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm, gets it suggested more, and it grows the audience. Those of you that have already hit the like button, I appreciate it. But those of you that haven't, I would really appreciate it, and it would help this video greatly, and we would get more people in. We already have 138 watching right now. I think we can grow it to 500. That's a big challenge, but I think we can do it. All right, we have John Waffle H2P. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. He's saying Pitt will go to the Big Ten. I have heard that. But the big pushback that I get whenever I talk about Pitt going to the Big Ten is Penn State. Believe it or not, this might be hard to believe, guys, but Pitt is one of the favorites as far as preferential treatment goes in the Big Ten. You have Ohio State, of course, Michigan, of course, Wisconsin, and then I would say Penn State. Those four get preferential treatment. I'm not trash talking them. I'm not saying they get away with stuff or this and that. I'm just saying if Penn State doesn't want Pitt in the Big Ten, it's probably not going to happen. So the biggest hurdle as far as Pitt going to the Big Ten would be getting over the Penn State hurdle. Like that's a real hurdle. A good comparison for that was West Virginia had to get over the Maryland hurdle to get into the ACC. Well, they're not in the ACC, so they were never able to get over that hurdle. The thing that really opened the door for West Virginia possibly getting to the ACC now is Maryland is in the Big Ten. But it doesn't sound like that big of a hurdle when you're talking, well, that's one team. What, like one team can keep it? Yes, one team can keep a team out, especially if they get preferential treatment. So that would be a legitimate hurdle for Pitt. Now, my sources, listen, whenever I heard that the Big Ten was talking to Notre Dame, I was like, well, that's game over. Notre Dame is going to take that, and West Virginia is not going to the ACC. Let's figure out, where the Big 12 goes from here, who they can add, all this other stuff. But then I actually went to my sources, and I'm like, look, this is the conversation we had, okay? I said, look, you've been telling me West Virginia and Notre Dame, the ACC for a while. Then I started hearing that Notre Dame was talking to the Big Ten, and now I'm hearing, not from these sources, from different sources, that Notre Dame is actually turning down the Big Ten for now. I'm not saying that lasts forever, but for now. What's going on? They said, well, that's what we've been telling you. That's what we know. The other thing is the ACC is looking to add 4 teams, a total, not 4 more teams, but a total of 4 teams by 2025, 2026. The key word is looking. That doesn't mean it's a done deal. That doesn't mean, it's going to happen or anything like that. All that means is the ACC wants to do that. And 2 of the teams would be West Virginia and Notre Dame. And that's why I made the video that I made earlier about the possible candidates for that. If they're looking to add 4 teams, who would the other teams be? Because the first 2 would be Notre Dame and West Virginia. One thing that I did not fully comprehend until the past, month was the severity of the grant of rights for the ACC. After knowing what I know about the ACC grant of rights, I don't think if the ACC does go down the tubes, if that happens, I'm confident in saying that it won't happen until 2036. Or is it 2034? Whenever the grant of rights run out. It's either 2034 or 2036. Here's why. It's pretty ironclad, guys. I'm being serious. When I looked into it, I didn't realize how severe and airtight this is. Basically, if any listen, guys, listen. If any ACC team leaves the ACC before the grant of rights is up, whether it's 2034, 2036, whatever year that is, if they leave before that year, they cannot make money. Their money goes to the ACC. The SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, whoever, can't make money off that team either, because the money goes to the ACC because they own the grant of rights. Keyword, rights. The rights to a team belongs to the ACC until whenever that year is up. It's pretty ironclad. So if the ACC does get picked apart, it wouldn't happen until those rights are expired. Unless there's a really, really good lawyer out there that knows how to get around that. I don't know. I just don't see it. That was, people talk trash about John Swofford and how bad the TV deal is with the ACC, which it is. It's terrible. It's awful. But the grant of rights thing was negotiated really well in favor of the ACC. So there's 2 sides of this coin for the ACC, right? You got one side, terrible, horrible TV deal. Horrific. That goes against the ACC teams. The second part of this, ironclad grant of rights. That also goes against the ACC. Now, with the TV deal, that goes against the conference and the teams. They're both making less money. So that's for both. The grant of rights only goes against the teams. It favors the conference, but it goes against the teams. So the teams are in double jeopardy if you think about it. My gosh, that is... I don't even know how to explain it. It's not good. I mean, well, think about it like this. You're Clemson, right? You've been owning the ACC. You've been getting the ACC to the playoffs consistently. The only time you didn't win the ACC, which was last year, the ACC didn't get to the playoffs. Pitt won it last year, but, they didn't win enough games in the regular season to get to the playoffs. So you basically are the reason why the ACC has made the playoffs, and you're having to watch, Big Ten teams like Maryland, friggin' Rutgers, friggin' Northwestern making or about to make hundreds of millions of dollars per year. And then the SEC, of course, you got think about Clemson. They got to look at their rival, South Carolina, who they're way better than right now. South Carolina, their arch rival, in-state rival, making way more money than Clemson. That has got to be so irritating. So I'm sure that there's being put a lot of pressure on the ACC right now to bring in some more teams so we can renegotiate that TV deal. So that's the situation that the ACC is in right now. Now, what about today? Right? The loose alliance, whatever that means, between the Pac-12 and the ACC. Well, first of all, this is a stupid, idiotic move by the Pac-12 because it's basically not learning your lesson. The fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Well, shame on you, Pac-12, because you're not learning your lesson. You're not learning your lesson. Because remember, guys, this is not the first time that the alliance has existed. The original alliance was the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC. And then, of course, the Big Ten stabbed the Pac-12 in the back and took USC and UCLA. So, actually, the correct wording isn't the ACC and the Pac-12 form a loose alliance. The correct wording is they kicked out the Big Ten. There was already an alliance. Why was there an announcement today saying that the Pac-12 and the ACC have formed a loose alliance? Duh. It's already been in existence. They just had to kick out the Big Ten because the Big Ten stabbed the Pac-12 in the back. So even the wording of that didn't make any sense. And even if it was a redo, this is still a stupid, horrible move by the Pac-12 because you've already been stabbed in the back once. You don't think that it's going to happen again. And I think this is a smoke screen by the ACC, like I said in my video. They have to figure out a way to add teams and renegotiate that TV deal. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's not an opinion that changes or that can change. That is a fact. They need to add more teams to renegotiate that TV deal. So, hey, let's arrange this loose alliance, this loose marriage, whatever you want to call it, with the Pac-12, who is vulnerable. They just got picked off by the Big Ten. Their two biggest brands and the number 2 TV market in the nation in LA, and USC is about to be good. So the value of that's about to go through the roof. Let's make a loose alliance with them and then, make them lower their guard, just like the Big Ten did. And maybe the ACC can sneak behind the Big Ten's back, or the Pac-12's back, just like the Big Ten did, and snag Stanford. And that's one of the ways that they can bring in Notre Dame. Even if it's not that, even if it's not specifically that, I don't, this is not real. I mean, just even the simple term of loose alliance is ridiculous. I mean, the Big Ten doing what they did and getting USC and UCLA. And by the way, I'm not trash talking the Big Ten. That was the right, excuse me, guys, I just ate. That was the right move. Okay, any Big Ten fans in here? That was the right move. I was not trash talking the Big Ten. I was actually trash talking the Pac-12. Idiots. This shows that you have to negotiate your TV deals fast, especially if you have good brands in there. And the advantage, think about this, the advantage that the Pac-12 used to have is now going to be a curse against the remaining teams, because the advantage that they had was their geography. They were on the West Coast, and the normal thinking man was like, well, they're all the way out west. There's no way the Big Ten is going to go over and snag a Pac-12 team. There's no way an SEC will go over and snag a Pac-12. There's no way an ACC will go snag a Pac-12. Maybe the Big 12, but highly, highly doubtful. And it was all because of their geography. Well, now that the tables have turned and the conference is going down the drain, that might actually be a curse for the remaining teams because they are so far out west. I wouldn't worry if I were Oregon or Washington fans. You guys have a big enough brand. I know Phil Knight, the owner and founder of Nike, wants Oregon to go to the SEC or the Big Ten. But buddy, you really don't have any say. I know you back Oregon and they wear Nike gear, but if Oregon can't get into the SEC or the Big Ten, they need to get into the Big 12. And you're not going to pull your gear off Oregon if they join the Big 12, because the Big 12 will still be relevant because of brands like Oregon. Brands like Oregon might actually help save the Big 12 to where they can break off with the SEC and the Big 10. Even if the brands that the Big 12 have or has is kind of leftovers, they're still pretty good. Oregon, man, it's weird to say that Oregon's a leftover. I never thought that I would say Oregon is a leftover brand, because they're really not. I'm just going by technical terms. Technically, just because of the way things happen, Oregon's a leftover brand. But in all reality, they're not. They're a premier brand. Oregon goes with the Big 12. Stock goes through the roof. Big 12 could renegotiate their TV deal and make a lot of money. Shane M 1980, $5 super chat. Appreciate the support, buddy. He says, USC fans are the most fair weather in the country. I do agree. I have no respect for them. I mean, I can see why you say that, but I would say, let's see, I don't have total respect for the entire fan base, but I know some good USC fans that are not fair weather fans. I agree with you that most of them are. And I think what you're saying is, for the most that are fair weather fans, you have no respect for them. I agree with that 100%. The few that aren't fair weather fans, then I think you would agree with me that we do have respect for them. But for the majority that are fair weather fans, me and Shane M 1980, we don't have respect for you. So if you're a fair weather USC fan, sorry, no respect for you. So yes, I agree with that comment. Thanks for supporting the channel, by the way. Those of you who are new to the live show and you haven't hit the like button, please do so. It's not a pat on the back. It helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm, gets it suggested more people see it, and we have a bigger audience. And we have grown this video to 290 people watching. Let's keep it going. I set a goal earlier of 500. And at the time, it was a little bit of a stretch, but we're getting there. We are over halfway there, guys. Let's keep growing it and keep the talk going. College football is not dying. Not at all. Even if you're not in the Big Ten or the SEC, it's not dying. I think the Big 12 is on the road to surviving. Really, the only conference right now that I have on life support would be the Pac-12. Thank you, Craig Jordan, $5 super chat. Word in Ann Arbor is that Michigan and Ohio State may be moving to the SEC. Whoa. I have not heard that, but you better believe I will look into that. And if I can find some sources on that, I will definitely make a video of that. That would be, holy crap. That might be a backbreaker for the Big Ten. Good gosh. Keep me updated on that, buddy. John Waffle H2P, $1.99 super chat says, Pitt is a bigger brand than W. Sorry, John Waffle, that is factually incorrect. If you literally look it up, that is factually incorrect. West Virginia has more fans that identify themselves. Even John Altimore, who is a USC fan, so he has no dog in the fight. He's on the West Coast. He did a study on this, and West Virginia has almost 1 million more fans that identify themselves as football fans. And West Virginia has a bigger stronghold in the city of Pittsburgh than Pitt. Now, Penn State is the biggest brand in the city of Pittsburgh, but when it comes down to Pitt and West Virginia, I mean, West Virginia carries the city over Pitt. So that's factually incorrect. Now, if you wanted to say that that Pitt was a better team than West Virginia last year, yep, 100%. That is correct. If you wanted to say Pitt kept West Virginia out of the national championship in 2007, yep, yes, sir. That is 100. That is 100% correct. I hate saying that, but it's the truth. But brand wise, no, 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 no. This is not just revenue. This is talking about profit, and you gotta factor in travel because I looked this up. John Waffle H2P with a $1.99 super chat. W is 65 out of 65 in revenue. That's because of the expenses, and that's why West Virginia actually needs to get ACC because their travel expenses almost completely offsets the revenue that West Virginia makes in the Big 12. It's crazy. So, well, if the Big 12 can renegotiate a massive TV deal and, minimize the cost of travel, then, that's one thing. But if it's only a slight bump, which is what it's looking like right now, then it would be much better to be in the ACC. Even though the pay of the ACC would be lower, the travel expenses would be almost non-existent. So we'd almost have 100% profit. That's the big thing that hurts West Virginia right now. So yeah. But it was that one super chat that really made me raise my eyebrows by Craig Johnson. Word in Ann Arbor is that Michigan and Ohio State may be moving to the SEC. Now, if this super chat would have said word in Ann Arbor is that just Ohio State or Ohio State and Penn State may be moving to the SEC, I would probably just brush that off as a troll. But I'm assuming this guy is a Michigan fan because he said word in Ann Arbor, and that's where Michigan is. And he included Michigan and Ohio State. So the fact that you included your team and your rival team makes me take it just a little bit more serious. So I'm going to have to definitely look that up and see if there's any substance to it. Even if it's a rumor by just a couple of sources, I'll still do a video on it. 2 sources is enough for me to do a video on a rumor. So I would definitely, and I see the comments that has to be a troll. And yeah, I would agree with that, but that's why I'm going to look into it. We'll see if anybody else is saying that. That would be, number one, it would be head scratching. Number one, that would be earth shattering. Would the Big Ten then be in trouble? What? I mean, if you really think about it, as strong, as powerful as the Big Ten and the SEC are, if they were to somehow lose, okay, if the Big Ten were to lose, if the Big Ten were to lose Ohio State and Michigan, they would be in trouble. You flip the coin over to the SEC. If they were to lose, let's say, Alabama and Georgia, they would be in trouble. So, yeah, I would definitely have to look into that and see if anybody else would be saying that, because that's actually crazy. That falls under the logic of crazy. And I'm Golden Blue Dude. So for Golden Blue Dude to say that something falls under the category of crazy, it's got to be something big. But if you wanted to get my attention, even if that was a troll, you got my attention. I'm definitely going to look into that. But the Pac-12, I don't understand their stupidity. Like, they really don't look into anything. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think they're going to get fooled twice because the Big Ten has already stabbed them in the back, and the ACC is probably going to do the same thing. So I don't know. I don't know. This is a good question too, by the way. John Waffle, H2P, $1 super chat. Appreciate you, even though you're lowballing me. You know how to say it. Do you think Wazoo and Oregon State are done? Oh my gosh. Maybe. It's actually looking like it. Out of all the brands that are in the Pac-12, I would say Washington State and Oregon State are on the shakiest ground, because at least Stanford has a life raft with Notre Dame. If maybe they could talk Notre Dame into saying, "Hey, tell them to bring us along. Tell them no deal unless they bring us along." Okay, see what they say. All right, just see what they say. So at least they have an ace up their sleeve that they can try. For Washington State and Oregon State, they don't bring anything to the table for anybody, and they're in BFE. Corvallis, and where is Washington State? Oh, man, I used to be able to think of it off the top of my head. Corvallis is where I want to say Spokane, but I think Spokane is Gonzaga. Somebody look that up and tell me. Point is, they're out in the middle of nowhere. Pullman, that's it. Good job. Point of it is, Oregon State and Washington State are out in the middle of nowhere, and they don't have enough value to bring to the table to offset that. Even Cal, they get a truckload of academic money that can make them a little bit enticing, and they're not, totally out in the middle of nowhere either. So, yeah, if there's any brand that's in trouble, it would be Oregon State and Washington State. Now, the only reason I'm hesitant in saying that they're actually done is you just never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, who knows? So I'm not going to sit here and say for a fact that Washington State and Oregon State are done right now, because right now they're not. Could they be? Absolutely. Angel Torres, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Can San Diego State make past Pac-12 with NCAA basketball and FBA rising? For a while, I was actually making a case for San Diego State to the Pac-12. I don't know if you want to go to the Pac-12, to be honest with you. I mean, if they lose Power 5 status and get picked apart like it's looking like and don't have a TV deal, I would say within the end of the year. Pac-12 needs a TV deal done by the end of the year. Then I wouldn't even bother. I would just stay in the Mountain West, and then maybe you could just merge with the Pac-12, because right now the Pac-12 is not looking good at all. Could San Diego State? Yeah, absolutely. I just don't know if you want to now. If you would have asked me 3 months ago, I would have said, yes, you can make it, and you should definitely try it. Now, not so sure. Wisconsin sports fan, $5 super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. If we go down to 64 teams, 2 conferences of 32, so I'm assuming it's the Big Ten and the SEC, both have 32. I'm with you. You would have all the Power 5 teams, but someone would be kicked out so Notre Dame can get in. Who goes? That's a good question. I mean, you have Rutgers, you have Maryland, you have Vanderbilt you can kick out, you have Northwestern, you have Kansas, except they have basketball, so that kind of offsets it. Wake Forest, I know Wake Forest had a phenomenal year. Got to the ACC championship, got beat by Pitt. But even in a great year for Wake Forest, they still didn't make a ton of money. Wake Forest is not they're not a cash cow at all. They're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to that. Yes, I would say Washington State, Oregon State. There's a lot of brands that would be on the chopping block. Who actually gets it? I don't know. If I actually had to pick, I would say Vanderbilt, because they're actually a little worse than Wake Forest as far as football goes. That they bring in hardly nothing in football. I mean, they get their slice of pie in the SEC, but as far as revenue and ticket sales, not good at all. And their basketball program hasn't been good for a while. They have a great baseball program. That's it. But we all know baseball is not a big moneymaker in the NCAA. So if I had to narrow it down, put my finger on it, I would probably say Vanderbilt. For sure, it would be Vanderbilt. It would be close. See, Northwestern has had some success. I mean, they just went to the Big Ten championship in 2020. Maryland has had some good teams over the years. They got to a bowl last year. Rutgers, I'd probably put Rutgers right there with Vanderbilt. Maybe flip a coin. I would say Washington and Oregon State would be safe above those two. That's not don't brag, Washington State or Oregon State fans. That's still not good. So I would have a coin. I would have Vanderbilt's logo on one side, and then I would have Rutgers logo on the other side, and whatever it landed on, you're out. Bring in Notre Dame. But I don't think it would actually get to that point. I think Notre Dame would be in anyways. Valdez Brown, appreciate the $5 super chat. Michigan fan here. Why do you keep saying the Big Ten stabbed the alliance in the back? Both schools approached us. Money talks. I was talking in relations to alliance, okay? Think of it this way. You're in an alliance, right? Even if they approached you, by you accepting that in the alliance, you're taking away from your alliance member. Now, am I saying that USC and UCLA didn't stab the Pac-12 in the back? No, they absolutely did. They stabbed them in the back more than you did. But by accepting them, you still stabbed them in the back. And like I said, I wasn't talking trash to the Big Ten. That was the right move. Well done. Maybe it was planned that way. Maybe you were like, all right, let's, how can we fool the Pac-12? Let's see here. I got it. Well, let's bring in the ACC so this doesn't look, conspicuous, shady. I'm just going to use the word shady. Let's bring in the ACC so this doesn't look shady. Brilliant plan. I am not throwing shade on the Big Ten. That is absolutely what you needed to do. But I'm still going to label it as, stabbing them in the back because that's a fellow alliance member, and that's by accepting UCLA and USC, that definitely hurt a fellow alliance member. Now, the alliance probably wasn't real anyways, whatever, but just in the context of things, that's how I would classify it. But absolutely the right decision, guys. Not throwing shade on the Big Ten at all. In fact, I would throw shade on the Pac-12 for being idiots. I mean, just total, oh my gosh. It didn't look right whenever it was announced. It didn't make sense. And the thing that they said brought them together was they agreed on the playoffs thing. Like, it shouldn't be expanded because this, and this, and this needs to be looked into. But the more I looked into it, the Big Ten actually didn't agree with the ACC and the Pac-12 as far as not expanding the playoffs. So I was like, that doesn't make sense. That just doesn't make sense. And lo and behold, we find out that's why. The Big Ten really wanted USC and UCLA. And I get what you're saying. They approached you. But listen, there's communications that go on back and forth. And I'm sure they knew something at the time. Whenever Oklahoma and Texas finally announced that they were headed to the SEC, it came out that the SEC and Oklahoma and Texas knew for like 8 months or so. In fact, they deliberately avoided telling Texas A&M because they knew Texas A&M would throw a fit. Texas A&M didn't know about it until we knew about it. Seriously, they didn't know about it until the news got a hold of it. And, of course, by then it's, sorry, it's too late. They're coming. It is what it is. So these talks, whenever you hear this stuff coming out, it doesn't mean they just started talking about it. Absolutely not. They have been talking about it for a while. So even when the next announcement comes out, don't think of it, oh, well, that came out of nowhere. No, it actually didn't come out of nowhere. It's just that's when they decided to let everybody else in on it. There are talks going on right now that we really don't know what's going on, but we will find out, and it'll seem like earth-shattering news. And oh man, I didn't see that one coming. Well, sorry, it's not breaking news really. They've been talking about it. Guys, we're growing the video. We're actually almost up to 400 now. So let me give a reminder. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. not to pat me on the back, not at all. It's to help grow the video. It helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm, which gets the video suggested more, and more people see it, come in, click on it, and we have a bigger audience. We are up to 360 people watching. I set a goal earlier in the show of 500. I think we can get there, but I'm just here talking, guys. I can only like the video once, so I need y'all to help me out and hit the like button if you haven't. If you already have, I appreciate it. You've helped us grow the video. But if you haven't, please do so we can keep growing it. Yeah, I need some Pepsi, guys. My throat's a little dry at the moment. By the way, I didn't even realize this until I thought about it a minute ago. I actually haven't done a regular live show ever since we did our preseason spectacular back on June. It was either 25th or 26th. So it's been a little bit, but it's been a crazy week at the same time. I've done two videos a day over the past, I'd say 3 weeks trying to grow the channel. And it is paying off, but it's also a lot of work, and it kind of squeezes out some of the live show opportunities. So sorry, but at the same time, got to do what we got to do. As Pac-12, I think, is done. Let's get that out of the way. I do think that the Pac-12 is done. I don't see how they come back from this. What do they call it? A loose alliance or a loose whatever affiliation with the ACC isn't going to do anything. In fact, they're probably setting themselves up for another stabbing in the back. You're done. And I do feel empathy for the Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, sort of the Stanford, although I do think Stanford's going to be fine. But I do feel bad for those fan bases because, they didn't choose that. No. Appreciate Dwan Bohr for the $2 super chat, and Anthony Zappin $10 super chat. Appreciate it, buddy. Of course, he's going to make me say "Let's go Herd," but beyond that, in all seriousness, the best case for WVU is for the ACC to get gutted by the SEC, and WVU to be reunited with its Eastern rivals in Pitt, Virginia Tech, and Cuse. You know what? West Virginia is actually in a really good position right now. I think there's actually two best case scenarios, so I guess you can't really call it a best case scenario. It's an either or. Scenario number one, they get the invite from the ACC with Notre Dame and two other teams. We'll say Stanford to entice Notre Dame, which locks them in Memphis because they have the best market remaining, and they're actually renovating their stadium, and it's going to look really, really good. And you're reunited with all your former Big East rivals. The grant of rights is locked in, so they can't leave before you come in. We'll see how the TV deal is renegotiated. It's probably renegotiated in a way to where teams actually don't want to leave after that. They make money that's at least competitive, not quite up to SEC and Big Ten standards, but competitive. And the ACC teams stay because ACC teams love the ACC. They just hate ACC money. So they better get that figured out. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is lawyers actually do figure out how to get around that grant of rights, and the ACC starts getting picked apart, and the Big 12 gets in on it, and they're able to grab like a Pitt, a Virginia Tech, a Louisville. I'll even throw Syracuse in there. So there's an actual east side of the Big 12. And, even if they go out and get Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, as long as they get teams out of the ACC, I'm okay with that. Now, if we don't get teams out of the ACC, I do not like the Big 12 going out and get those Pac-12 teams. That just makes it even worse for traveling for West Virginia. And I know they're in planes, blah, 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 but there's a process and you got to repeat it, and you're out of the comfort of your own surroundings for longer periods of time when you got to travel across the country. It does affect these athletes. So personally, I don't like the Big 12 grabbing those teams out of the Pac-12 unless we can get some Eastern teams as well, because as bad as travel is for West Virginia right now, that's going to make it even worse. Man, thank you, BG Weed. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Thank you, BG Weed, for the $20 super chat. What do you think? Let me make sure I read this correctly. I don't want to butcher it. What do you think the G5 left out? Some schools invested millions chasing the fool's gold. I see where you're going with this. I like it. Chasing the fool's gold of football and may become a bunch of UConns with millions in debt should they just break away and go back to amateur sports. That's actually a really good question. And the two teams that really pop out as far as that question goes would be Memphis and Boise State. Every time anybody, including myself, has mentioned the ACC expanding, grabbing new group of five, the best group of five, or the Big 12, and they did. They got Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, BYU, or even the Pac-12. Boise State and Memphis were the two top names. So this question is, G5 left out, I'm assuming from the split off, from the Big Ten and the SEC splitting off and creating their own division. And so these group of five teams who are investing a lot into their facilities get left out. That would absolutely be a big problem. What happened this week is bad news for Boise State. Boise State fans should be a little worried right now because basically the options for the Big 12 getting teams on the west side of the United States opened up. The dam has opened up. The dam, a.k.a. the Pac-12. And you better believe that the Pac-12 will take Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, probably even Washington State and Oregon State over Boise State. So this was absolutely the worst case scenario for Boise State. They were looking to make the jump. Pac-12 being picked apart, that's off the board. Going to the Big 12, they're the ones picking the Pac-12 apart after Big Ten grabbed USC and UCLA. So that was a great question, by the way. And Boise State stands the biggest to lose. Now, maybe they haven't actually invested the money yet. And they're like, well, we see the writing on the wall. We're actually, guys, it's not going to happen. We're not going to be a Power 5 team. It's not going to happen. If you still want to invest in it as a group of five, fine, whatever, but just keep that in mind, then I'm okay with that. But yeah, this was a bad week for Boise State fans as far as their hopes for getting into a Power 5 conference. It just is. I have nothing against Boise State fans, by the way. I know a lot of good ones, but bad news is bad news, guys. It is what it is. Anthony Zappin, another $10 super chat. Appreciate you, bud. He says, spot on, GMB, dude. It's not just travel. If Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah join the Big 12, it's playing schools on the other side of the country that West Virginia has no history with and the fan base don't care about. That's absolutely, the Big 12 going after Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, they should. That's a good move for the Big 12. It's a terrible move for West Virginia. This puts a magnifying glass on the fact that West Virginia doesn't belong in the Big 12. We already know it. It's common sense, but we've come to accept it. But once again, now, with the Pac-12 being picked apart and the Big 12 zeroing in on those Pac-12 schools, we're being reminded, yep, West Virginia still doesn't quite fit in the Big 12, and now they're going to fit even less. And the funny thing is, after Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12, and then we went out and got BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. Oh, see what the Big 12 did there? They added Cincinnati and UCF. So West Virginia is going to have some close games near the east side of the United States. Yeah, like two teams, Cincinnati, and UCF is still far away. If you take a map and you measure from Morgantown to Orlando and Morgantown to Ames, Iowa, it's pretty close. So that actually didn't help all that much. Cincinnati, of course, that's great, but that's one game every year. So that made me laugh when people, including West Virginia fans, were like, "Oh man, the Big 12's throwing us a bone." No, they didn't. Like maybe one small bone, and that's Cincinnati. Dwayne Bohr, thank you for or is it Dwayne Bohr? Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. I appreciate your $5 super chat. Appreciate that, buddy. So yeah, every time somebody brought up the fact that the Big 12 went out and got Cincinnati and UCF, hey, see, they still care about you, West Virginia. They threw you a bone. Really? Really? No, they didn't. I mean, Cincinnati, yes, that helps West Virginia. That's it. I mean, yeah, technically UCF is on the eastern side of the United States, but have you looked at Orlando compared to Morgantown? That's still a long trip. So, no, they did not throw West Virginia a bone. And now by going out after the Pac-12, which they should, it's the right move for the Big 12. I can't trash talk them. It just hurts West Virginia even more. But West Virginia doesn't have it the worst, guys, in the Big 12. You know who does? UCF. UCF. They're going to be making some good money, but they're going to be experiencing what West Virginia has experienced over the past decade or so as far as travel issues, except it's going to be way worse. Way, way worse. UCF fans, all I can say is buckle up. It's not going to be good at all. It is not going to be good at all. So that's a decision that they might regret. Not as far as the money goes, but what if in the future something else would have opened up? Like the ACC would have made a ton of sense. Now, I don't know if Florida State and Miami would have allowed UCF. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't even apply or whatever. I don't know. But you also have, well, I guess the Big 12 is the only option because the SEC is not going to. You were stuck between a rock and a hard place when I really think about it. So, sorry. Matthew Hasselhurst. Am I saying that correctly? Matthew Hasselhurst. Appreciate the $4.99 super chat. What was the Big 12 supposed to do for West Virginia in desperate times? Well, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a bad decision for the Big 12. What I was saying was West Virginia fans and a lot of fans on the East Coast was like, hey, the Big 12's throwing you a bone. When they weren't. They were making a good decision for the Big 12, yes, but they were not throwing West Virginia a bone. So I'm not criticizing the decision. I'm criticizing the people that were saying they threw West Virginia a bone. They weren't. Samuel Austin with the $1.99 super chat. Hey, GBD, is Baylor screwed if the Big 12 dissolves? Absolutely not. I do not think that the Big 12 is screwed. Number one, I don't think the Big 12 is dissolving. So let's get that straight right now. Number two, if the Big 12 were to dissolve, I think Baylor would be fine. Baylor, I don't know what's going on over there in Waco, Texas, but Baylor is at an all-time high as far as their stock value right now. They're having consistent success right now in football. Now, every once in a while, they'll have a terrible year and go like 1-2 or 2-10. Every once in a while. But then they immediately rebound with a 10-win season, and then they're back to, getting to the Big 12 championship. So football, they're having consistent success. Then in basketball, they just won the national championship a couple years ago. So your stock is through the roof right now. If the Big 12 were to dissolve, you're in the state of Texas. That doesn't hurt. Although, if the SEC comes a calling, you might have to bid against Texas and Texas A&M. But I don't think that they would have too big of an issue with Baylor getting in because, let's face it, Texas actually likes bossing people around. And once they've been in the SEC for a while and find out there's nobody to boss around because nobody likes to be bossed around. Bring in Baylor. We need somebody to boss. Come on, bring them in. So Texas would actually probably be for bringing in Baylor to the SEC if the Big 12 were to dissolve, because they want somebody to boss around, whether it's Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, whoever. That's one main reason that doesn't get talked about enough, why Nebraska, Colorado, Texas A&M and Missouri left the Big 12. They were sick of the politics of Texas because that's who they are. So short answer is no. I do not think that Baylor would be screwed, not one bit. Your stock all-time high. If there's any time to bring in Baylor, now would actually be the time. So as long as you don't fall off a cliff, Baylor is going to be just fine. And, then the bonus for Texas would be somebody that they at least think they could boss around. Now, whether they actually could or not, I don't know. But in Texas, at least they think they can boss you around. So they would be for it. You would get Texas' blessing. You'd probably get Oklahoma's blessing as well, and that would be a big plus. So Baylor would be fine. Baylor's I'm not worried about Baylor at all. I would put them in the same category as West Virginia because a lot of people talk down on West Virginia, and that shows me the people that don't know West Virginia, the brand. They look at West Virginia, the stereotype. West Virginia, what I've been told, not the actual brand and not the actual history of West Virginia. So I would put West Virginia, Baylor, Oklahoma State, maybe Iowa State. Not really sure. They've been a pretty bad football team. I know they get a ton of support, so they'd have the potential to make a lot of money, but success-wise, they've been pretty bad. This recent success under Matt Campbell, although they did slide down a little bit last year, is not normal for Iowa State. So, yeah, I wouldn't get used to it if I were you, Iowa State. And Matt Campbell is either going to move on or continue to flounder around. One or the other, I don't know. We'll see. But Baylor's fine. I think TCU probably fine. Not as confident with TCU as I am with Baylor. I actually think Texas Tech would be fine, especially with the Big Ten going after USC and UCLA. Texas Tech actually has the number 2 brand in the Big 12, right behind West Virginia, fan base and revenue producer. So I think now I'm not as confident with Texas Tech either because they are kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but there is a connection on the West Coast with UCLA and USC. So I don't know. I'm still up in the air about Texas Tech, but Baylor's fine. TCU's probably fine. And Texas Tech probably fine. I think Houston is on the up and up, and if they can continue to have success and their fan support gets bigger, they could probably be brought into the SEC, maybe 10 years down the road, something like that. The only issue with Houston is they haven't made their mark yet. And they have to compete with TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech. Well, not really Texas Tech, but they're in the same state. Texas and Texas A&M for fan support. That's what makes it difficult for these universities that are in the state of Texas. They have to compete against other universities for fans. There's only so many fans out there, or only so many potential fans. So you got to compete with these other universities to draw in fans. And so if you have to go head-to-head against Texas, you're going to lose. If you have to go head-to-head against Texas A&M, you're going to lose. Maybe you have a chance against a Baylor, a TCU, or Texas Tech, but the two giants, I'm sorry, you don't have a chance. Trent Stewart, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, Big 12 way, let me make sure I read this right. Big 12 way forward, get best TV deal you can, and become more dependent on gate. I see what you're saying. I think a little typo there, but I see what you're saying. Got to raise ticket prices as much as possible to get revenue. Except one thing. I understand what you're saying, 100%. Raise your ticket prices to make it seem like your team's more valuable because you're getting more money because the ticket prices are higher. But the problem is, and Pitt is an example of this. If you go too high, people aren't going to buy tickets. Watch Pitt fans. They do not. They do not get good fan support. Number one, they don't even carry their own city. That would be Penn State carries the city of Pittsburgh, but even West Virginia carries it more than Pitt. And then on top of that, insult to injury, the ticket prices for Pitt games are ridiculous. I'm going to the Backyard Brawl. It's ridiculous what they're charging for upper deck prices. And I'm just like, well, there's one reason right there. They got to stop doing that. So, yes, raise the prices to make yourself more valuable, but don't raise them too much because there is a limit on what people will spend. Everybody has a price, but at the same time, everybody also has a limit. So be careful with those ticket prices. You don't want to go too high. But I do agree with your concept. What you're saying is raise the prices. If the same amount of people keep buying your tickets, then it'll look like that your value has gone up. If even if it's just the same amount of people buying it, just for the price, Conqueror 2001, appreciate the dollar super chat. Every little bit helps, so I appreciate your support. By the way, if this is the first time you've come across Going to Blue Dude and you're a college football fan, that's a big caveat to this, all right? If you're a college football fan, consider hitting the subscribe button because that is all we do here. And I do at least one video every day. Here recently, I've been doing 2. And remember, the college football season is just around the corner, so everybody wants as much information as possible. So if you're one of those people, you're a college football fan, you're wanting a lot of information, consider hitting the subscribe. And hey, if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. There's always that. So just consider. And if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. It just helps grow the video, helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm, and gets it suggested more. More people watch the video, and more people comment. So yes, please hit the like button. Thank you, Matthew Hasselhorst, for another super chat, $4.99. Hopefully, I'm saying your name correctly. By the way, it looks like Matthew Hasselhorst. That's what it looks like. So hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. How do schools west of the Mississippi get anywhere near the eastern schools? 2/3 of the country is in the east. Forever excluded? I don't know about that. Hazelhurst. Okay, I got you. Email. Gotcha. Hazel. So I was close. What was I saying? Matthew Hasselhurst. It's Hazelhurst. I was close, but thank you for correcting me. You are correct as far as 2/3 of the country is east, population-wise, university-wise. Yes, 2/3 of the country is in the east. You're correct. And that's why I said earlier, the advantage that the Pac-12 used to have is now their disadvantage. Their advantage was most everybody is on the east side, so there's no way they're going to come over here to the west side and get us. That would be too big of a stretch. Well, that barrier has been broken. Big Ten has gone out and get USC and UCLA, so now your advantage is now your disadvantage because now it's like, well, since the Pac-12 is falling apart, who's going to come out all the way to Pullman, Washington, and grab us, Washington State, or who's going to come out all the way out here to Corvallis, Oregon, to get us Oregon State? That was one of the things that my dad. It was a life lesson. Anything that can be used as an advantage can also be counter-used as a disadvantage, and that's exactly what's happened to the Pac-12, and that's exactly why they're going down the drain. So it's a shame, and honestly, I was hoping the Pac-12 would be relevant again, but not only are they not relevant again, they're getting picked apart. They're getting picked apart. I think the days of the Pac-12 are numbered. I don't know what else they can do. I don't know. Hillbilly Skeptic. I like your name, by the way. Nice name. Hillbilly Skeptic, $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Says NIL and realignment was created to save Northern and East Coast schools. Only 3 liberal states with the natty in 25 years. Oh, political shot. I like it. Hey, it's fine. He tied it into college football. I will allow that, sir. And I do like it. And I kind of sort of agree with that. And if you think about it, Nick Saban was actually against NIL at first. And if there's anybody that can take advantage of NIL and would probably encourage it, it would be Nick Saban. So I don't know. That would still fall under, opinionated, but I would probably tend to agree with that. Although I don't know if that's the 100% truth. But that was a good statement, and that was a good way to tie it all in. Thought that one out. Good job. If anybody has a disagreement on that or a counter argument, super chat it, and maybe you have a swaying argument. I don't know, but that was a good argument right there. Not gonna lie. But I don't know if it was the only thing that I would throw back at that is I don't know if it would be specifically the NIL, maybe some other stuff that's involved, tuition, stuff like that. But I'm not sure about NIL specifically. But the last part of that statement, only 3 liberal states with the natty in the last 25 years, that is a fact, guys. That cannot be refuted. I don't know if that proves the point, but it's definitely a fact. You can't undo that for real. The problem is not enough liberal states has national championship universities or even FBS, football programs. NK, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. You're the man. No, you're the man. Will you be in Blacksburg? And if so, will you have a tailgate? I am, as of right now, yes, I'm going to be at Blacksburg. Now, something can always happen. But I have tickets. I'm planning to go up there. And, of course, if I'm going to Blacksburg, I am going to tailgate. And I will have my banner. Blacksburg. If you're a West Virginia fan, you're going to stick out. And see that banner behind me up there? I'm actually going to bring that so I will stick out even more. So trust me, if you're in Blacksburg and I'm there, you're not going to have to look for me. I will stick out like a sore thumb. Appreciate it, Paul Gee, for becoming a member. Yeah, there's always that option too. I forget about that sometimes until it pops up. So yeah, I appreciate that. But as far as this comment goes, I'm definitely going to be in Blacksburg. As of right now, things can change, so I don't want to say no matter what, pinky promise. You just never know. But yeah, my plans are to be in Blacksburg, and I would definitely stick out like a sore thumb. Just look for the gold and blue dude thing. And I think the chances of game day going there are pretty small. Not sure about the backyard brawl. That's probably pretty small too. But maybe the Baylor game, if West Virginia's having a really good season, they'll come to Morgantown for that, or maybe the Oklahoma game. And I'm also going to that. And if that were to happen, I'm going to have my Golden Blue Dude sign, and we're going to get Golden Blue Dude on game day. We're still going to run that contest. If you can make a Golden Blue Dude poster, get it on game day. We're going to have some prizes for that. I just forget what I said on the promotion. We already have a promotion. We already have a prize. I can't remember if it's $100 or $50. It's a cash prize. So if you can get your Golden Blue Dude sign on game day, you actually win a cash prize. But I'll have to go back and check out the actual rules. I thought I missed one more, but I think we're all caught up. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we're good. But yeah, I'll be in Blacksburg, and I'll be at Heinz Field, backyard brawl. I know I'm going to be at Morgantown for the Baylor game and Morgantown for the Oklahoma game. Now, for me, I live in upstate South Carolina, so it's tough for me to make the road trips if they're Big 12 road trips like Ames, Iowa, Manhattan, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Norman, Oklahoma, Austin, Texas, all of those. Very, very difficult. So probably won't be able to go to any of those. But some home games, definitely, just like I do every year. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I got some other things I got to do around the house. Clean up after the dogs, take some trash out, all that good stuff. We had what us Southerners call a gully washer today. It rained cats and dogs, buckets and buckets. So I was not able to take the trash to the dump earlier, and I had to save it for after I do my live show. So I still have that to do, and they close here in just a little bit. So yeah, I got to get it down. I think that I don't think they're closed today. They're open on Wednesdays. Yeah, we're good. But anyways, appreciate everybody that came by. Awesome turnout, guys. Everybody that hit the thumbs up. You guys built the video. We got to over 400. We got close to 500. Not quite, but we got to 400. H Barfarkle. I'll really just say that. Appreciate the $10 super chat. Hopefully I said your name correctly. It's hilarious. Love it. Says nobody knows what's going to happen. Realignment. That is correct until it happens. I would love to see the SEC and Big Ten go to 24 teams. I think they'll at least go to 24 teams. WVU go to the SEC and both conferences opting out of the NCAA. Yes, I would agree with that. Number one, I do think they'll both go to 24 members at least, maybe 32. I don't know. I do think West Virginia would make the cut. In that case, West Virginia is a top 30 nationwide fan base, top 50 for sure revenue producing school. Now, when you factor in travel expenses right now in the Big 12, 65. It's not good. But if you get rid of that, travel expenses, and we're actually able to make money, we actually make decent money. So I would agree with this statement. But, you know, if the ACC is able to renegotiate that TV deal with Notre Dame, West Virginia, and a couple others coming in, would you be willing to take that slight risk of maybe not getting accepted to the SEC? You know, that's still a risk, even though I'm fairly confident that West Virginia would be accepted, especially at a 24 cutoff. It's still a risk. Nothing is for sure until it actually happens. So I don't know. And, you know, as long as they bring in other rivals as well, you got to think about that too. If the SEC gets picked apart, West Virginia goes to the SEC, and the SEC maybe gets a Clemson, Virginia Tech, probably not Pitt, too far north. I would be okay with that. So whatever's best for – yes, I would love West Virginia to be in the ACC, but really it's what's best for West Virginia. And whoever you're a fan of, that's what you're thinking as well. What's best for my team? May not be what you exactly want. It's just what's best for your team. All right, guys, I got to run. I got some things I got to do around here. Mainly the trash is number one, but great live show. A lot of people came out and supported Golden Blooded. Thank you to all that sent super chat, supported the show financially. You hit the like button. We grew it to over 400 watching at once. Amazing live show. I'm pretty sure that's actually a new record for us, because the old record was right around 300 whenever I did my first NCAA big dance basketball tournament reveal. We revealed the brackets live, and that was a big one. We just broke that record. So congratulations, guys. Maybe we can break it again on Friday. All you got to do is hit that like button, and YouTube will take it from there. And if you hadn't hit the subscribe button yet and you're a college football fan, do it. And if you don't like us, you can always subscribe. But I'm out, guys. Next live show on Friday. I am going to do a Patreon-only live show either today or tomorrow, depending on if I can get my stuff done. If not today, I'm definitely 100% going to do it tomorrow. Next regular live show on Friday. Anyways, y'all have a good Wednesday, and I'll see you on Friday.